Shannon, lead me up to the point of, making that decision that, I want to get out of the title space and dive
Mhm.
into real estate from a real estate agent standpoint.
So in in 2014, I had my daughter, my second kiddo, and I went Talon let me go part-time. We at that point, I was still in Pickerington, but we had moved to Westerville. So I did now about an hour commute by the time I hit the daycare and all that good stuff. And so they let me go part-time, which was amazing of them. It just did not, it was not working. I mean, I was still busy. I still ended up working on my days off. And, I'm like, then we also figured out that we didn't have busing for our son when we moved. I mean, he was only 2, wasn't even something we thought about.
Right.
And so he was getting to that point of preschool and things like that. And we are like, something's got to give. Like, I can't drive 45 minutes to an hour each way. Um, we're basically paying to have somebody else run our kids around.
Yeah.
And but I loved what I did. I loved everybody that I worked with. I cried the day I put my notice in. But I was like, I love what I'm doing. A lot of what I did was met with brand new agents. Like, I don't know if we met, but I'm sure I had met with, I met with people at consultants all the time to put a marketing plan together. Now, whether they executed it or not was a whole another story. But,
Sure.
and I was like, I can do this. I've met with so many of these agents and put their marketing plan together. I can do it for myself. Um, when we bought our house, the agent I worked with tried to recruit me then, now granted he had known me for a long time, but um, so it was kind of it took me a while though to work up the courage because it's hard to go from having a solid W-2
Sure.
to being 100% commission.
Sure.
Now, my husband was super supportive. He had wanted me to make a change for a while. He was like, there's nowhere to grow. You can do it. So that was super helpful, but it's still nerve wracking. And the other caveat is I could not get my real estate license and keep working for title.
Mm.
Um, if you're a licensed agent, which a lot of title people are, you have to put it in escrow. The other thing is I knew too many people, and I knew the minute I went into a real estate class, word would get back to Joe Baroni,
Yeah.
and I mean, there would be, there's no like
Right.
getting ready for
Right.
my next step. Um, and it's funny because when I went to Hondros, the teacher was a broker and I had been in his office doing marketing presentations. So the minute I walked in, he was like, "What are you doing here?" So I had made the right choice. And I mean, I told him up front, what I was doing when I
Yeah.
put in my notice. But that was the biggest thing actually was my family. What were we going to do for our future? What could we do to be flexible with the kids and things like that? And
Yeah.
honestly, if I didn't have kids, I don't know that I would have ever had I don't know that I ever would have made the leap. I don't know if I would have been that
Mm.
brave.
Mm. You mentioned that, leaving a W-2 and then going straight, commission based, right? And
Mhm.
I always talk to agents, because everyone we've mostly bring on new agents or newer agents to our team.
Mhm.
And, people are always concerned about that, right? Like, well, I have another career, whether it's a salary or W-2, pay every 2 weeks. And I'm like, look, you
Mhm.
know, it's like this false narrative of that job being secure because at any
Mhm.
moment you could be laid off, right?
Mhm.
And it's out of
Yep.
your control. And you have someone else telling you what you're worth, not you telling yourself what you're worth. And I always tell people getting into this business, it's it's simple but hard.
Mhm.
It's simple in the concept of how to go get business. It's hard in the execution because of the consistency and needing to know business and marketing and all of those things. But I always tell people at the end of the day, if you truly believe in yourself and in your work ethic,
Mhm.
then the sky's the limit, right? And what
Yep.
you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, and it can be one of the most rewarding careers. But you
Mhm.
truly have to have a uh, self-awareness conversation of, do I truly have that work ethic in order to go out and to succeed? Because I think that's the separator,
Mhm.
in our industry.
Well, and one of the things I did before I made the leap, because I knew so many real estate agents, I knew one of the things I wanted to do was join a team.
Mm,
Because I think one of the biggest downfalls in our industry is that we don't require a mentorship program of
yeah,
some sort.
I agree.
Um, I mean, when you sit through those real estate classes, they all you're learning is how not to get yourself in trouble, which is very important. But I'm like, the fact that you can go through classes, get your license, and you've never looked at a contract
Yeah,
is a real problem.
yeah,
And so, I had met with so many brand new agents over the years that I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're going out on their own." And it was a scary thought to me. And so I don't know if I would say interviewed, but I reached out to a couple team I didn't even reach out to a couple. I reached out to one team leader that I liked how he did his marketing because every team does their marketing different.
yep,
And I liked his style. I liked how he treated his agents, how he let them market themselves using the team name and still, because I mean, I had done marketing for team members that even though it was their listing, it had the leader's name on it and their name was like yay big.
right,
And, so I also knew, when I reached out, his name's Joel. When I reached out to Joel, I knew he would give me the good, bad, and the ugly about real estate. So we met up for coffee, and really one of the things he said that stuck with me was, if you're going to do this, you need to commit to it for 3 years. He's
mm,
like, this is not something that you do it for 6 months, and if it's not working out, that you get out. He's like, you need to, have money set aside and be prepared. And he goes, you need to commit for 3 years, like in your mind. Just know that
yeah,
this is what you're going to do for the next 3 years. He's like, because that really is how long, in my experience, it's taken to establish yourself, start those clients you worked with the first year, may start coming back, and really
yeah,
get that flow going to where you're not always trying to cast a net and find fresh fish.
yeah,
So, and he was right. I mean, I joined his team, and that was one of the best things I did actually, was joining a team. I can't tell new agents enough, join a team, because I love the brokers. I do, and they're super important. They don't have time to hold your hand for a year.
yeah.
They just don't. Now,
Well,
if you are going to a brokerage that has a specific person for that, that's a different story. But you need somebody right there that when you are in a showing, okay, or for me, one of my first showings, I didn't know how to operate the lockbox. It was one of them that was the turn
yeah,
knob.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like, how many times do I turn this? I've never used a lock like this. I'm like, I don't know how many times to the left and how many times to the right. I'm like, just simple stuff like that, that being on a team, I actually, in that case, got a hold of a team member and I was like, Karen, I don't know how to work this lockbox. I don't know how to do this. And she was
yeah,
dying laughing. She's like, how do you not know how to work one of these master locks? And I'm like, I've never had to do that. I don't know. I didn't even lock my locker in high school. I don't know how to work this type. And but it's joining a team at least to get started those first few years and establish a foundation. I'm like, the knowledge that your team leader and team members have, you can't pay enough money for that, in my opinion.
no. I'm all obviously biased. Started out on the team. I'm still on the same team, right? And
No.
um, it's to me, I think you're exactly right. It's not necessarily, why were teams created? Because brokers and brokerages were missing different value propositions that agents truly needed because of the model. And that's, everyone that hears me will always hear me say the industry's broken is because the models are broken. Right. And I'm with you. I think every new agent, that should be a requirement, not just mentorship, but go and join a team, because I think that's different than some of the
Mhm.
mentorship that some of the big brokerages, my brokerage included, rolls out, I don't think that is true mentorship either. So,
Right.
I always say join a team for the first 6 months, 12 months of your career, because it's
Mhm.
all of the other stuff. It's the questions about how to get into a house when you're, in a
Mhm.
pinch. It's, you know, learning how to write a clause, or working on a different negotiation strategy, or,
Mhm.
all of the other stuff that would take you forever if you were
Mhm.
just on your own. Or you may feel lost. You know, a team should not. If you're on a team, you shouldn't feel as lost. You probably will still feel lost, like being brand
Mhm.
new, but you shouldn't feel as lost.
Yeah.